It's time to accelerate. Hi, I'm your host, Andy Paul. Join me as I host conversations with the leading experts in sales, marketing, sales automation, sales process, leadership, management, training, coaching, any resource that I believe to help you accelerate the growth of your sales, your business, and most importantly, you. Hello, and welcome to Accelerate. I'm really looking forward to talking with my guest today. Joining me is Ralph Lentz, Chief Revenue Officer of Recurly, a leading subscription billing and management platform, and quite a bit more as we'll talk about. So Ralph, welcome to Accelerate.
Andy, great to be here. Great to join you.
So take a second, introduce yourself, maybe tell us how you got your start in sales.
Sure. So I've been in sales ever since I got out of college. I originally started off as in a marketing job for a couple months, realized that wasn't for me. I grew up in a sales household. My dad was a sales guy his whole career. And
what did he sell?
He was actually in tech before it was really tech. So he was kind of he worked for Unisys and Burroughs and Sperry, Univac back in the days. So
wow.
Selling tech before it was really, before tech was the thing it is today.
It was interesting. I was just talking to someone 2 weeks ago. I was interviewing for the show, and they were saying that in their hiring process for sales candidates, that they found that the number one predictor of sales success is coming from a sales household.
I had not heard of that, but maybe it is in your DNA, and I think it kind of is on at least for me. And it was interesting when I first got into sales, I totally resisted it. I really didn't want to do it because you don't necessarily want to do what your dad did. But I gave it a shot, and it felt instantly right. So I knew it was the right thing for me. So that's how I got into it. And actually, my first job was as an inside sales rep. And this is before inside sales was the thing it is today.
Mm-hmm. And what were you selling at that point?
This was selling it was a precursor to Inside View or Hoover. So it was a database of company names. Mm-hmm. A company called Information Access was part of Ziff Davis.
Oh yeah, I remember those guys. Yeah,
and so it was selling, but it was doing it over the phone, which was at the time no one did it. Of course, I think back then it was called more telesales or telemarketing.
Telemarketing, right?
Which we all cringed at. But I could see back then this was a much more efficient way to sell. Now, mind you, that being said, we also had a field sales organization. I ended up progressing and ended up being a field sales rep for them. But I started off as inside, and it was a great training ground for me. Now,
did you say you regressed to become a field sales or progressed?
You could take it as either way, right?
Okay. Well, let's jump in and talk about subscription management because part of the reason I'm excited to talk about this is more and more of the way products are being priced these days and sold as subscription-based products. And it's not just software, as we're accustomed to thinking about, but a lot of other products coming. We're going to talk about that. And also, I think it is fundamentally transforming how we sell, much of how we sell. So I guess let's first talk about a little bit what Recurly does, and then move from there. We'll talk about why we see more products sort of adopting the subscription-based model.
Sure. So Recurly is a SaaS-based platform that helps companies with subscription management. So companies that have a subscription model or are looking to get into a subscription model, we help provide and power their billing.
Okay. So they don't need, and do they still need shopping cart and so on, or does it take the place of that, or?
No, yeah, they would still need a shopping cart. This is just handling the billing as it pertains then also to things like a payment gateway.
Right.
So we'll sit on top of, there's companies like Stripe or Braintree, right, which are payment processors.
Right.
And then we sit on them and be able to power their billing. So this is, when you, and it's interesting, and for those of you that even in the on-premise software or hardware world where you talk about maintenance contracts, so dealing with anything where you have any sort of recurring payment, it's a really tough problem to solve. And most people think, I can build that myself. And they go down the road, they start building it, and they go, this is harder because, what if a customer wants to upgrade or downgrade? What if they want to add new products and then they want to co-term things? What if they want to add discounts in there? That level of complexity is something that normal billing systems like a QuickBooks or NetSuite or Oracle, they're not going to handle those natively out of the box. And so this is a very specific thing that we do, and we do it better than anybody else. And it's a really tough problem to solve. We've made it really easy to do.
Got it. And then you provide the interfaces to all those other applications. You talk about the ERP systems and so on.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more of that. But in the meantime, let's talk about subscription-based products. I mean, most of us see this with software, the software as a service, the sort of in the tech world sort of driving, going from an on-premise license to and from seat-based to more subscription-based. But what else is happening that you're seeing out there than other industries that are really adopting this and embracing the subscription model?
Right. So a lot of the OTT companies, so over-the-top type companies that are doing streaming, any sort of streaming media, are going to be large subscription companies. So if you think of Sling, which is a division of Dish Network, so Dish Network is of course we all know them, and that the Dish business is not necessarily their strongest business, but their Sling, they acquired Sling, and Sling is.
Right.
Is growing incredibly, just to taken off incredibly, and so we power the billing for them. So it's a recurring billing. It could be a monthly, annual subscription that they have. Like and in that same space, like CBS Interactive is a customer of ours. So if you think about CBS All Access or ESPN, Showtime, all those different brands allow you to subscribe on a monthly, annual basis. But then you get companies like that are box of the month clubs. Those have just taken off just incredibly. And there's companies like Loot Crate, which is sending a lot of tech products to someone every month, or BarkBox, which is for dogs, and Roxbox, which is jewelry. Those are all sold on a subscription basis. There's companies like Twitch, which is watching people play video, paying to watch people play video games.
Right. Which I find very interesting, by the way.
Interesting, and I personally don't do it, but they have thousands and thousands of customers that do that.
And hundreds of thousands,
on a monthly basis. So it's touching almost every part of our economy, and it's interesting that every day we get new companies, big companies that are wanting to that aren't in the subscription business, but they say, hey, look, we want to get in there, and how do we start? And then that's where we jump in.
Yeah. So give me an example or ideas of some sort of traditional big companies that make conventional products that are sort of making that migration.
Yeah. A good example is Restoration Hardware. So Restoration Hardware, and they're not a customer of ours just yet. We're working on that. That Restoration Hardware, is a traditional retail company, and they said, what, that Costco model is not a bad one, where people pay an annual fee to join Costco, and then
right.
And because of that you get access to Costco and good deals. So Restoration Hardware, about I want to say maybe 6 months ago at this point, introduced the notion of paying an annual fee, pay a subscription fee to join a special club with Restoration Hardware, and it gets you access to better, because they don't do sales anymore. So the only way you get a sale is if you join this quote unquote club on an annual basis.
Interesting.
So I wasn't necessarily thinking of them as one. Spirit Airlines, for example, is getting into subscription as well. So if you join their club, you get access to better pricing. But again, it's on a recurring basis that you join this club, if you will.
And any on a B2B basis, other than software, sort of more conventional, traditional businesses you see jumping into it?
Trying to think of none that come to mind. Yeah, none that come to mind. But again, just SaaS is just so prevalent. So HubSpot is probably one of our bigger B2B customers, for example.
Yeah, no, HubSpot. Yeah, I've been a customer for HubSpot. So,
and as are we. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So to get into that business, somebody essentially needs to have a service component to their business, but you said the example before is you got companies that have their service marketing that really need an application like Recurly to help them manage. Because one thing you talk about in your literature is that you really recover lost revenue, and I found that very interesting. If you may tell people a little bit about that.
Yeah, so with it's kind of a little bit of a special sauce that Recurly has. So for example, I think we've all seen situations. We have a gym membership, and our credit card, it had the date expired, and they had to, and of course you need to change it. Well, the way that we have, there's certain technology that we have access to and that we've developed, like we call Account Updater, as well as some retry logic that we have that allows us to kind of behind the scenes to help merchants so that they can kind of guess, if you will, or just sort of, because we have access to, we've worked with thousands of customers and millions of different credit cards and different banks, that we understand how they may change those expiration dates. So we kind of automatically retried a lot of those cards for them, doing different using different algorithms. And as such, we'll recover anywhere usually between 5 and 10%. It could be upwards of 15% of revenue that the company would literally not have gotten if it weren't for our retry logic.
And these are cards that seemingly that you have on file that seemingly, or maybe not even on file, but that seemingly have perfectly valid data on them.
Exactly. And so now, if it's a hard decline because you haven't paid your bills, or
that's one thing, right?
But this is for good cards where they normally should have gone through, but just because of a date or some other soft reason that we will retry it and get it approved for the merchant, and they don't even know that it's happening. But we do this behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you say that there are over 2,000 ways a credit card transaction can fail.
Exactly.
That's pretty daunting. When you take credit cards online, that is a pretty daunting proposition.
And so we're kind of, this is one of our areas of specialty, but in terms of the recurring billing world. So
very interesting. And then how about managing churn within your subscriber base besides the credit card failure?
So this is a case of understanding where what plans are working well and which are not. So this is through the analytics we have. So it's really comparing which so let's say you're going to go out with two different subscription plans. You're going to want to know which plans are working well, which ones aren't, and then having the data to make the better choice. And then also understanding when you do see people that are churning, you can determine. You look at the reasons that they're churning, and that's again through the analytics we have that allows people to make better decisions on new plans and then changes to plans that they're going to be making.
Right. Now, when you look at how you sell your own product, I presume you use a SaaS model, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So, what are the biggest challenges for you in scaling your sales team?
Oh, so we are similar to the way I like to look at the way we're approaching the market, similar to the way Salesforce started. So, when you think back on Salesforce, which was 17, 18 years ago, they were an SMB type of model that eventually kind of went up market, and we're very much the same way. And if you remember back in the day, the Salesforce was going up against Siebel and Oracle as the big on-premise CRM solutions. And you think back to the year 2000, and was there any company bigger than Siebel at that time, or one of the bigger companies than Siebel? And you never thought, this little company that Salesforce is ever going to overtake that. And look what happened today. I kind of look at us as the same way. So we started off as a solution for very small companies, and that's we start with mom and pop shops of developers that just needed to add recurring billing functionality. And as such, we've landed some really good names along the way. So like I mentioned, Sling, HubSpot, CBS, Twitch, Zillow, BarkBox, great names that are customers of ours that have kind of grown up with us. And so we're at the point where we have the functionality to deal with enterprise, to sell to enterprises and make them happy. And so now that's my mission is, we've been great for kind of SMB and small enterprise. Now we're going mid and large enterprise. And so now it's just getting people, I would say, to see us as that kind of solution. And that we're capable of handling that type of volume. So we're growing up in a sense.
So what's that mean in terms of the composition of your sales team? So you still have your BDR, SDR teams. Now, do you have a sort of bifurcated account exec team? One's for a large enterprise, one for SMB, or how are you working that?
Yeah. So when the company first started, because it was literally online sales, so there were no salespeople at all. As they kind of grew up, as we grew up to kind of the first level, we realized, as we get bigger, some people expect to talk to salespeople, but it was more of a sales, I would call sales assist mode, where it was kind of helping them through the buying process, not actually proactively selling.
Right. To
the point now, we have an SDR team that's segmented from inbound, and then the outbound SDRs are separated into kind of mid, more SMB, and then I have dedicated enterprise SDRs. And we've done the same thing with the sales team. So I have kind of three different levels of small, medium, large in terms of our sales team. So our first, we call our emerging business is very high volume, high velocity inside sales. Our medium, our kind of mid tier, if you will, is handling decent sized deals from anywhere from 10K to 100K, and then enterprise is above that. And so enterprise for us is any deal above 100K.
Got it. And, in terms of hiring your SDRs, what are you seeing as sort of the key for you? Because one of the things that been fairly consistent with people that we've interviewed over the year here is that That's a big challenge to find the right people that can come in, fit in, stick, do handle the level of pressure and activity that's expected.
Right. So one of the things that we're looking for is someone that either, again, I'm looking for not necessarily right out of college. So I'm looking for someone with some experience and shown some sort of interest in being in sales and some success in sales. And then with a desire to have a training ground and then a career path within Recurly. So the idea is that we bring them in, train them up in the SDR organization, then convert them and promote them over into the sales organization. But that being said, so the type of person I'm looking for is, I generally think of it as more of a bit of a complex thinker, but someone also that is very organized, someone that has great energy, and that also that's been, I like people that have played team sports within college, because I like that competitive spirit, competitive drive. So kind of putting all that together. A lot of our hires, both in the sales role, the AE role, as well as SDR, have come from referrals. And so we've almost don't even have to go out very often for, beyond that, because our referral base has been absolutely phenomenal within this company, which is awesome.
So what do you use as a handoff point between your SDR team and your account execs?
When you say handoff, what?
I mean, are they trying to sell a demo, a meeting, or a conversation?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a demo. So we're trying to get them just to want to learn more and have a demo of the product. Because for us, a demo is pretty powerful, and so if we can get them in front of a sales rep to do that demo, and but at the same time we also make sure they have discovery and they fit basic criteria. Of course, they have to be a subscription business. And they're willing to take that demo. That's the criteria. We're not, we don't have. We started off when I first started joining here as pretty strict criteria, and that wasn't really helpful for us. We found that we're actually probably missing some good opportunities, so we cut back on the criteria, open up the spigot, if you will, to have a little more deals flow through the pipeline.
So, what level of qualification do you expect your SDRs to get to then with the new prospects?
So with inbound, we're going to be a little higher in the sense that we want to make sure that someone has a subscription business, willing to take a demo, but also is kind of in the market or is actively looking for something. And then if it's an outbound, we're not going to be quite so stringent, because outbound leads are hard to get in the first place. So they're more just, are you willing to have a conversation? Are you willing to see a demo of the product? And by the way, do you have a subscription business?
Okay. So further qualification beyond that goes to the account execs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. We're not going to, I don't want to keep it too stringent, because right now we're also, since I've been with the company 6 months at this point, and we're still trying to build more and more pipeline. And so I'm keeping the criteria probably a little on the easier side, and then build it up, and then we'll probably turn down the spigot a little bit as we get further into our understanding our qualification.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that seems to be the case with a lot of sales companies is that maybe just too much in their pipeline. I mean, because the close rates, at least the average industry close rates, seem to be relatively low compared to sort of conventional B2B field sales. So you don't see that as a problem with getting too much into your pipeline?
No, we've actually had, and I think this goes to, again, to have a really nice product that's very demoable, and also we have a free trial that anyone can sign up for as well. Our close rates have been in the 30% range, so we've actually been
higher than average. Yeah,
it's been. That's why I say I'm not going to turn it off just yet, because we've been pretty good. But I think that's, again, a testimony to we have a good demo, and then we have a good reputation for the companies we've been trying to go after. I was at the SaaStr event back in February here in San Francisco, and that's geared towards a lot of our types of customers. And I just walking around the event, people would see my badge and I'd say, "Oh, you're with Recurly?" He goes, "I'm a customer. I love you guys. I've never been with a company, especially tech companies. A lot of times people, "Oh, I hate you guys. I hate that software." I've never been with a company where people go, "Oh, I love you. I love you guys. I love your company. I love your support." And I walked out there going, being very proud. And I think that reputation helps my sales team as well.
Okay. So with your ideal client profile, is there a certain transaction volume that makes it more worthwhile?
We do both B2B and B2C. B2B tends to be lower transaction amounts. So it's not really tied to transaction amounts, but we do handle, especially compared to our competition, there's a company called JibJab. I don't know if you know JibJab at all.
I've heard the name.
They do, if you go online and like you want to put yourself in a little animated GIF.
Right. Oh, right.
That's what they do. So it's a very high volume transactions. Right. And we're one of the only companies that could handle a transaction volume like that.
Got it. So if you had to just sort of last point about Recurly is paint out a ideal client profile, what it would look like.
Again, anybody doing subscription billing that is looking for quick time to value. So we're again thinking of us versus us as the Salesforce. Salesforce, you get up and running very quickly. Generally, if it's for most companies, as opposed to a Siebel or Oracle type of solution. We're also quick. If they want to get quick time to value and they want to get up to running and up to speed quickly and not spend a year long in implementation, that's going to be a good fit for us. And then if you have one or even multiple types of different subscription models, whether it's you're selling by seat, by tier, by usage, whatever sort of way you bill, we're going to be able to handle that.
So one plan can handle all the different billing models?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Well, good. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and talk some more with my guest, Ralph Lentz, right after this.
Hi, this is Andy. Connect and Sell is used by sales reps at nearly 1,000 companies, including hundreds of technology startups and several Fortune 500 companies, to overcome the challenges of getting prospects on the phone. Companies using Connect and Sell grow their revenues faster by enabling their sales reps to have more sales conversations in 90 minutes than they could otherwise achieve in an entire week. Connect and Sell can be deployed directly to your sales reps, or you can take advantage of their outbound on-demand service, which delivers qualified prospect meetings scheduled directly on your sales reps' calendars. Visit connectandsell.com to learn more about how Connect and Sell can start filling your pipeline today.
Welcome back. Talking to my guest today, Ralph Lentz, Chief Revenue Officer of Recurly. So now we move into the last segment of the show where I've got some standard questions I ask all my guests. And the first one is a hypothetical scenario I pose that in the scenario, you, Ralph, you're the star of the show. You've just been hired as a new sales VP at a company whose sales have stalled out. And I don't think that was the case with Recurly, but in this case, a company whose sales have stalled out, the board, CEO really want things to get unstuck and back on track in a hurry. So if you thought about your first week on the job, what two things could you do that would start having the biggest impact in terms of start turning things around?
Wow, that's a good question. So I'd first make sure do we understand our true value proposition? Is this something that is this something really people want to buy, or is this something that's just a nice to have? Do we understand the true value that we're trying to get across that people are going to buy? So I look at the product in the market, making sure this is an available or a product that fits a need in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And then, so it's looking externally and then looking internally as well, and saying, all right, what does the sales team look like right now? Why are they not selling? And finding out the reasons. What's holding them back from crossing the finish line. So I think you need to look both internally and externally.
Okay. All right. Good. So now I've got some more rapid fire questions. You can give me one word answers if you want, or you can elaborate if you wish. So The first one is, when you, Ralph, are out selling your product at Recurly, what's your most powerful sales attribute?
Let's see. I would say selling value.
Okay. And how's that come across?
Is really understanding their business, understanding their pains, and then how we can help grow their business and offer them functionality that's going to help them bring in more subscription revenue.
Okay. So I probably know the answer to this question. I'll ask anyway. Who is your sales role model?
To begin, starts with my dad.
Sure.
And then from a sales leader perspective, as I said earlier, my dad was a sales guy, and so so I learned a lot from him as a sales rep. And then I had I worked at Computer Associates CA for over 10 years, and my boss for most of that time was a guy named John McCarran out of the Philadelphia area. A great sales leader, kind of an old school sales guy, but just from his style and from the way he led salespeople and motivated people, I would like to be half as good as he was. So
tell me one thing he did that was so good that you emulate.
I think people, whether it's customers, whether it's prospects or people on your team, people learn and respond to stories. And he was an older guy and had a lot of stories and a lot of powerful stories that really resonated, whether it was in the sales process or trying to manage people. And I still reference some of his stories to this day, which I probably some I probably couldn't say on this, couldn't say here, but they made an impact, and I kind of relate those stories to people that work for me, and so I would like to be half as good a storyteller as he was.
Is there anything you do to get better at it?
Well, I think it's just practice. I think it's part of it, and I think it's also having those life experiences that you can then share with people. I think is part of it. So the older you get, the more stories you have. I think the more you can share with people, and those war stories are really what help people relate. And and leading a sales team, it's funny is and you probably can relate to this. If someone has not been in sales, or a sales rep can pick that up in a second, and so it's I've been a sales rep. I had a quota. I've had that quota on my back. So I can understand. I can totally empathize with a rep, and sharing those stories with them. They go, okay, I can get it. You've been here before.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the issues that pops up with more frequency these days is this issue of sales managers who are maybe analytical, good with following the metrics and the dashboards, but never been in sales.
I think it's hard to get credibility from a sales team if you've never done it. And there are probably other areas, other functional areas where that's not as important. But I think with sales, you just have to understand what the pressure is like to have a number on your back. And if you're a sales leader and haven't had it, I think it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. All right, so one book every salesperson should read.
Right now, again, it's probably an obvious one, but I think Challenger Sale is hugely important.
And what did you like about the Challenger Sale?
Just the whole notion that the way people are going to, the way people buy nowadays is they do all their research before they come to you. So if you remember the role of a sales rep when probably you and I started, what part of it was to educate people.
Sure.
Now people are getting educated themselves, which means they come with a bias, and because they come with that bias, you have to challenge their way of thinking, because especially if they've been reading all the materials from one of your competitors and they're going to have that automatic bias built in, you got to reorient their way of thinking. Now in some ways we've been doing Challenger Sale for far longer than before that book came out, but I like the way they've kind of crystallized it and try to get people to think in that way, because I think for any rep going forward, we have to be Challenger-esque in the way we do things. Okay.
Good answer. So last question for you, tough one of the day, is what music is on your playlist right now? Oh,
this is something I should admit in public. I'm actually a classic rock guy, even though I do have some pretty obscure things, but I'm a classic rock guy. So it'd be Journey, Van Halen, Fleetwood Mac, anything classic rock.
So what's the obscure things?
Should I admit that I have ABBA on there too?
That's not obscure.
No, but
maybe to this generation. But.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, good. Well, Ralph, thanks for joining me today. How can people find out more about Recurly?
You can go to recurly.com, or you feel free to you can email me at rlentz@recurly.com, Lentz.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks again for being on the show.
Andy, great to talk with you.
And remember, my pleasure. And remember, friends, make it a part of your day every day to deliberately learn something new to help you accelerate your success. And one easy way to do that is to make this podcast accelerate a part of your daily routine, whether you listen on your commute, in the gym, or as part of your morning sales meeting. That way you won't miss any of my conversations with top business experts like my guest today, Ralph Lentz, who shared his expertise about how to accelerate the growth of your business. So thanks for joining me. Until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you like what you heard and want to make sure you don't miss any upcoming episodes, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher.com. For more information about today's guest, visit my website at andypaul.com.